Member for Oak Bay, Gordon Head.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I am enjoying this line of questioning. I think it's very important to get clarification on the intent of the legislation before us. I have three questions on the definition of specified area in this session. The first is with respect to item L in specified area. It refers there to says an island, comma, if any, comma, within an area referred to in paragraphs A to J, if the island is usually accessible only by air or water throughout a calendar year. The first question is, why is the term island used there as opposed to a general area within these A to J that are generally accessible only by air or water? I'll come to a specific example, but within the broader area, there may be, in fact, regions that are only accessible by air or water even though they lie within the areas covered in A or I to I.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and through you to the member. And I think, as the member knows, the exclusion, when we looked at how to refine the geographic areas and looked at, as I mentioned in our discussion yesterday, the issue of how you make sure that most vacation homes are excluded. We took a look at a number of different options, and one of them was to look at refining the geographic area. And so that's why we've said that we exclude islands that aren't accessible or that only are accessible by air and water to be able to address those areas that, again, are difficult for commuting and therefore in most cases are not people who are commuting and buying second homes. They're mainly vacation homes, which is why we've listed it under L in that way.
Member.
I very much appreciate the answer and the intent of actually including islands. Why I raised it is that I heard from a resident of Belcarra, which, as the minister will know, is a lovely piece of the Lower Mainland across from Deep Cove. This person actually owns a property in Belcarra that is not accessible by road and is only accessible by air or water. And my question is, it seems that the intent of the legislation was to actually ensure that we're dealing with urban areas where there's issues of commuting and issues of a rental market that's being at ease here. Clearly, I would have thought the intent of this legislation would not have been to include somebody with a home in Belcarra that is not accessible by road and only accessible by air or water. So my question to the minister is, to what extent does a person who lives in the region in one of these designated areas, prescribed areas, have an ability to actually get government to recognize that the spirit and intent of this legislation probably wasn't meant to apply to an area which is only accessible by air and water but happens to be in one of these geographical regions? Is there a mechanism that this person, recognizing the spirit of the minister's previous statement, could go forward to actually determine whether or not this really is appropriate and they were meant to be covered under the government's intentions?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the member for the question. And we did specifically look at Belcarra, and part of the logic was, again, looking at the commuting distance. In fact, the commuting distance from Belcarra, it's a very short commute to downtown Vancouver. In fact, shorter commute from others who go from the Fraser Valley or from other distances, North Vancouver, for example, 5 minutes away. It is a municipality, though, and I think this is important, as the member asked, what opportunities are there for discussion around these issues. Belcarra, in fact, is a municipality. I met with the Belcarra folks at UBCM, and they will have the opportunity in an informal setting anytime, but in a very formal setting, as the member knows, with the amendment coming forward, to have an opportunity to be able to argue either the strength or weakness of having the municipality included.
Member, and noting the time, we'll take one more question. And
Just on this topic,
of course,
I have
please.
one more question after
Okay.
this. If I don't know whether,
as long as the minister can address the questions, we'll do it.
It's just further to follow up on that very briefly. This is I'm not talking about the entire region of Belcarra, but within the broader section of Belcarra, there are parts of Belcarra that are only accessible. Properties happen to have cabins on, only accessible by water or air. Therein lies the issue here. It's not maybe the municipality itself meets the intent that the minister sought, that of a commutable distance. However, it's not commutable distance for some aspects of this municipality that extend into areas that are actually not an island, but are only accessible by air or water. So again, my question for a specific individual with this broader municipality, is there a mechanism for that individual to seek an exemption, as per my earlier remarks?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair, and through you to the member. Thank you for the question again. I think we did, in fact, look at the commuting time from some of the areas that were only accessible by boat, 5 to 8 minutes to get to the Lower Mainland, so there are commuting pieces there. There aren't opportunities other than obviously coming forward and raising the issue. There aren't opportunities built into the legislation, but I expect that, you know, people will have the opportunity to argue that changes should be made if changes are going to be made to the tax, including the mayor, who I'm sure will represent all the members of the municipality.
Member?
Thank you. My final question is very brief. It's from another concerned couple who've approached me. I'm just giving a sampling of them because they illustrate the variety of concerns out there. I believe I know the answer, but I'd like to get confirmation from the minister. The couple lives on Mudge Island in the Nanaimo Regional District. They're concerned that the tax could afford them and that it could kill the property values on Mudge Island. Can the minister confirm that they live in their home full-time on Mudge Island, and that the Mudge Island is not included in the regions that are prescribed under the specified areas?
Minister?
Thank you very much, Chair. So I think the first piece that the member raised, which is primary residence, if it's primary residence and they live there full time, then they aren't captured. It isn't captured. It's only second or third homes, but Mudge Island is not captured by the speculation tax as well.